Hey guys, how are we doing? I'm Mike. I'm joined by Mike today. And well, this is the Why Not podcast, but why not literally anybody other than Mike Schweidel, my co-host, who has had an all-time down bad weekend. And Mike, feel free to recap. And my only question is this top 5 worst ever? Is this top 1? Please.
You're recording.
Yeah. No, yeah. Unfortunately, we are recording in the state of mind
The time says 0 for me.
No, it's going. It's not a dream.
So nope, I'm here. Just barely. The Yankees lost on Friday, and they lost again on Saturday. And then on Sunday night, the Cowboys lost. And then the Yankees lost again tonight. All hope is lost.
Your biggest rivals also won in very convincing fashion. You didn't have the best gambling weekend. You lost in picks badly. First time in a while. Lost lock of the week in excruciating fashion. I have a text thread I need to run through. We have games to run through still, Mike. You know, if you watch the Yankees game 3 tonight, I texted you. I think the moment was that Giancarlo Stanton can't run very fast. I think that that moment was a lot of the series, right?
Yeah, I think there's a few other moments. I think he's actually been the only player that remembered how to hit the ball. So
that is true.
I can't fault him too much for getting thrown out at home. He hustled on the double. He was hustling. He tried. He just doesn't have it anymore. The rest of the team doesn't have it anymore at the plate.
No.
They are just, I don't know. I don't know when it turned. I don't know what happened.
Bats are gone.
Bats
are gone. And the Dodgers are the hottest team in baseball. They beat the hottest team in baseball to get into this series, which always means, I just don't think. I don't think we were ever supposed to look at the series and be convinced that the Yankees could pull it out. It's easy to say now, but I think it's a pretty disparate difference, right?
I think on paper we still have the better lineup going head to head. We gave up 6 in game 1, which is a walk-off grand slam. So we gave up 2 runs the whole game. Then we gave up 4 and 4. And you don't win any of those games. You put up 3, 2, and 2. You can't win the World Series barely scoring 3, 2, and a garbage time 2-run home run. So ultimately, the bats didn't do what the bats needed to do. They didn't even get close to that. They haven't had 2 hits in a row this whole season. This whole series.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. I don't know. Is it more misery? Probably.
Well, what would you rather talk about?
I wasn't born yet.
Him.
I just
in his history.
I can remember the 5 days before this series started when I was really happy and excited.
Well, they beat the Guardians though, right?
Nonetheless, we made the World Series and I was happy. First time in 15 years since I was 9 years old. And it's just going to be another loss for me. Ultimately,
it is kind of crazy.
Another one of my teams lets me down.
That's also a funny thing about baseball. It's the only sport where you celebrate the way you do for getting to the next round. Right. So it's no matter what, you're going to be happy for if you go to the World Series 2 or 3 times. But now it's not only is it extremely disappointing, if they get swept, that's not just a World Series loss. You got swept.
And that's my problem. That's my problem with the way they're going out is the Dodgers are a good team. If they had gone out fighting in a competitive series back and forth, whatever, you lost to a good team, you fought hard, cool. They're not doing anything. There's no fight. There's no anything.
This was arguably the only thing worse that could happen as far as losses to the Yankees fans was getting to the World Series, getting smoked in the World Series versus just like losing the ALCS. So they're finding creative ways, and it's not just the losing, but now I asked you a few weeks ago, and it did seem like a sure thing, but like, does Juan Soto stay in New York now? Right? Like, what does this mean for that? I'm sorry to bring it up, but like, that's the type of volume we're talking about here, right? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if he stays, we're really good again. And Jason Dominguez plays left field, and Verdugo leaves, and we fix up the bullpen, and we're still a really damn good baseball team. If he leaves, we're screwed. And
But you don't want to think about
know.
next year right now. I know you're just.
I'm not even thinking about that. I'm thinking
What are you
about
thinking about?
do I even want them to win game 4? Like, do I want
Well,
that small little glimmer of hope? Because, like, the thing going
though
into this game is I had some hope. Going into game 3, Walker Buehler hasn't been great. I'm like, first game in the Yankee Stadium in
he
15
was
years.
awesome.
Like,
He was
if
awesome.
that he was lights out.
Lights out.
I think I could have thrown lights out against the
Yeah.
Yankees. But if you win game 3, you get to game 4, which is a bullpen game, very winnable. And then you get game 5 with Cole. Like, you can't look ahead to that because they didn't win game 3, but those were three very winnable games, and suddenly you go back to LA and you're up 3-2. Like, that wasn't that far of a stretch to say that could have been a storyline. And
No, but it's definitely looking ahead, because the thing I think that might have got lost in your thought process was like, baseball's not necessarily about home crowd. It's about who can hit the fucking ball. And the Yankees lost that, and the Dodgers are the hottest team in baseball. It's just a tough ask. And even, they gave you that home run at the end. I could see them winning game 4. I can see them winning game 5, and then it's usually like, they hype you up enough to where it's like game 6 isn't close type thing. So we can move on from the Yanks, Mike. We can finish with their thoughts after this series, but I wanted you to have one, right? Like, it really was not your best weekend. You haven't ran your miles yet. We can talk about the Dallas Cowboys, because I think this is a pretty telling game. I think.
yeah, let's bring on more misery.
We have to just
rip
go
the
down the
Band-Aid
list.
off. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
This is not going to be your podcast. It's not. You came out swinging too last pod. You had some confident juice in you. I think that the gambling was getting to the head a little bit. I think this was, I think you almost expected this was going to happen, right?
No, but it definitely was a bit of a reality check. Tungsten nano needle withstands the test of Michael.
Bye.
It is still the sharpest human-made object.
Still,
I am not even close to the tungsten nano needle.
No, you are.
Yeah, definitely a reality check. I think also a continued reality check for the Dallas Cowboys, who clearly don't have the personnel or the scheme to be an elite football team this year. I think they'll win a few games somehow. They'll win some division games, and they'll fall a game short of the playoffs. Hopefully that's enough to fire Mike McCarthy and bring in a full new team, new guy, and his guys ultimately will never get a GM, which is the bigger looming problem.
Yeah, like, that's the thing about your hopefulness. I even wrote down some stats, because my goal out of your misery is to make sure that you have no hope too. I want to make sure that you not only are sad, but that, like, there's no path to, like, you coming back to delusion. I need to put you in the dirt while I still can. I'm just kidding, but
that's fine. Go ahead. What are the stats?
Well, I just brought up, like, because what we have to talk about Dak, we have to talk about McCarthy, and we always talk about Jerry Jones. I think those are the big glaring 3. I'm sure you can throw in the injuries, but I think everyone knows that Micah Parsons not being on the field isn't the big story. I think a lot of it's just drafting, and obviously the decisions you made, because I think And I'm sorry to compare it to the Eagles, but like think about our quarterbacks, right? We'll talk about Dak. We can even talk about him versus Jayden again if you want. I figured you didn't.
I mean, we
But
can.
the last 3
I have an
drafts,
interesting take on Dak Prescott. I still have a weird.
you
You're
got
not
some.
gonna like it.
Oh God. Okay.
You can
Anyways,
try and take all the hope out of me, but I'm still a delusional Cowboy fan.
we'll see. We'll see. It could get bad. It could not even be to the point where you're close to making the playoffs and there's a little bit of delusion. Like I mean, I think if I were a Cowboys fan, I think the one thing I could hope for is to split with the Eagles. Like just give me one game against the Eagles where we win and I'm able to rub it in, my face, and that's what I would be hoping for. I wanted to share with you the past 3 drafts, Eagles, Cowboys, first and second rounds, instant starters, guys that are on the field. When injuries arise, your young guys start playing. And when I talk about the Eagles, one of the big things I'm going to talk about is our young guys because they've been very good, very good. But past 3 drafts, last year, Tyler Guyton, Marcus Nealand. I know Guyton's, he's all right out there. I know BB was also 3rd round. Nonetheless, I think you would agree you're not begging your first year rookie left tackle to be, your starter, right? You'd want him to sit behind guys kind of like, Lane Johnsons of the world. Anyways, we got DeJean and Quinion. Cooper DeJean breakout game against the Bengals. I'll just rip through it because I'll talk about the Eagles separately. But then Mozzie Smith and Schoonmaker, not great. And
No.
Tyler Smith, who's awesome. And Williams. I wrote down Williams, and I forget the first name.
Connor Williams.
No, it wasn't him. It was someone else. Because Connor Williams, and by the way, Connor Williams.
Sam Williams.
It was. I feel like it was a lesser known Williams, but I could be wrong. Was it Sam or Connor Williams that got suspended today to keep the streak alive of Cowboys D linemen getting suspended for hitting their wives? It's an every year occurrence. It happened. Sam Williams. It happened a little bit later this year. It's usually preseason, but great timing, Sam Williams. Awesome time. It's like the Cowboys or the NFL was like one more, and I punch in your face. Like, holy crap.
Talk about hitting someone when they're already down. I mean, come on.
And the Eagles side of things, DeJean and Quinion are both instant starters. So DeJean had his breakout game against the Bengals this week, and then Quinion, they just don't throw to him anymore. He's a rookie already. Then there was Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. So they made a couple big drafts to set up this capital. And then the year before that, it was Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, who's been playing great as Jason Kelsey's replacement. But also, they traded a 16th pick overall straight up for A.J. Brown. And then those are 8 starters right there, or 7, right? And I got Tyler Smith for the Cowboys. I think that is a big story in this. And I didn't even look at the future rounds, but that screams out to me too, especially when you're going to pay the guys like CD and Dak, right? Like you have to draft well. You even have to like make a couple big trades, like trade one of your expiring big contracts to set up the capital, and they didn't do that. And that's why it's also hard for you to be hopeful because you're still trusting Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones to make these decisions, and they haven't as of recent.
Yeah, the past few years they haven't made the decisions, but ultimately I have to believe and trust in them in the future because that's all I have.
We're ball knowers. You're always going to be a fan. But we're just
in the past they have made very good drafts. Aside from those past 3 years, before that you had CeeDee Lamb, you had Dak Prescott, you had Zeke, you had Zeke and Dak in the same draft. You had Zach Martin. Like, they've made good picks and they've had good late picks. They've had, especially on the defensive side of things, you've got Odigizua, you've got Deron Bland, you've got Dorrance Armstrong. You've got all these guys that
you're supposed to be upset
later than 3 years ago. Well, you're not doing a very good job. To go back to how you started this thing off, the glaring 3 issues with the Cowboys are Jerry Jones, Mike McCarthy, and Dak Prescott.
Let's talk about the
Well,
last one.
two of those aren't going anywhere. So I'm not saying they're
No,
not issues, but Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott aren't going anywhere.
no.
So I have to just deal with it. Now, Mike McCarthy is going to be going somewhere, and that's on a vacation in Cancun because he does not deserve to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys after this season. But what both Mike McCarthy and Jason Garrett showed with Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott as part of the organization is that you can be good with Dak Prescott at the helm. You can be good with Jerry Jones drafting people, and you can be good in multiple different ways. They've had teams that relied on running the ball, teams that relied on the defense, teams that relied on throwing the ball. So clearly there's some scheme issues here. I think they need to bring in a new offensive scheme, a new defensive scheme. Yes, they have to draft well. I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl contender next year, but they're not as far off, and that's what makes me frustrated is how badly they're playing, and they shouldn't be this far off.
I think this. Well, okay, so they are far off, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're incredibly.
But they
far
shouldn't
off.
be. Okay.
No.
Yeah, it's. I think this year's a little bit different than your typical Cowboys worries. I think I've said it all year. Like there's just glaring issues. I think even Cowboys fans are seeing that now. But to your point about Dak, like yeah, we've seen he can be great. I also think everything around him is pretty perfect when he's playing perfect. He's a very particular quarterback. It's one, you got to have a run game. Two, you got to have pass protection. Both have been lacking because he likes those mini play actions where the guy is just either, levels. It's CeeDee Lamb across the middle or it's like, Ferguson. Right?
What's different from that situation than the situation that Brock Purdy has in San Francisco? What makes them not equally?
They are
quarterbacks.
I think that's very well said. I think that's a great comparison because when it breaks down with both, it's like it's not even like competent. It's a very large drop off, right? It's not like
in skill. Yes,
skill. I think that's a good way to put it.
Neither one of them have the skill to be an elite quarterback.
They're not playmakers. They're managers, right?
Correct. So when you put them in the right situation, they don't turn the ball over. Someone like Baker Mayfield can't be a game manager.
The problem with that is you got to have a top 5 NFL roster at that point to win a Super Bowl because your quarterback isn't the one that's elevating you. You just have to have that, right? And like you said, the Cowboys have been close. Like the defense was a top 5 unit last year, right? And the offensive line has always been great. The run game's always been there. So like that's why I think the window's closing a bit, right? And like that's why you couldn't pay Dak $60 million, and you should blame him a little bit. Like if you really wanted to be this winner, like you're not going to win a Super Bowl if you take that much money from the Cowboys, especially with the way they just spend out of the get go. Like you needed the roster.
He doesn't know that though. If he doesn't believe in himself to be the guy, then how can you have a guy like that? He has to believe in himself, whether that's realistic or not. I want my quarterback thinking he's the best quarterback in the league and that he deserves to be paid as the number 1 quarterback in the league. I don't blame him at all for taking the money. Would you not take the money?
I would take the money.
You'd say, no, I'm going to take half as much money so that my team can be better. Get the fuck out of here. It doesn't have to be
half. I mean, Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year contract for $50 million a year. That was just very affordable for him in the franchise. And yeah, Dak Prescott's not Patrick Mahomes, but he obviously wants to be a Cowboy for life. He could have taken a deal like that. Maybe it's a Jerry Jones thing. Maybe I'm just barking at the wrong fucking whatever that expression is. But my point is there's no options, right? Like there's you either have the rookie QB like they do with Brock Purdy, right? And they try and make his situation perfect around him and they do a pretty damn good job. They're pretty injured. Or you have like Dak and you pay him and then maybe you have the one CeeDee Lamb and maybe you have a good defense sometimes. But other than that, you're stuck in middle ground. That's the Cowboys.
Right now. I agree.
Right now. And that's just where we're at. You started the podcast at a bad time. For now.
It's a tough time to be a sports fan for me, as it is most times. So
you've been a good content creator, though. You started the vlog series for the running, and what I would like to see as the audience member is like, I want to hear a therapy session. I want you to vent about the Cowboys on your run, like really get it out. See if you can break your mile time because of your frustrations with Mike McCarthy.
Honestly, it was like a legitimate, like, I mean, I was running for 2 hours straight. I I was playing music. I couldn't tell you a single song I heard because I wasn't even listening to it. And I was
Mhm.
just thinking. And a lot of it was about the Cowboys. And I was like, holy shit, like I'm in deep trouble here because we could like, I mean, 7-point loss, like that happens every other week. And 7 miles is a lot of miles.
Well, and for much as we could talk about Dak Prescott, he did save you by being one of the worst garbage time QBs of all time. Like, could have been 20 miles. Now it's only 6. 6 is still not great, which really shows you the the game of inches, this or miles, I should say. Right? It could be 15 like that, and then it could be 3. Like it's you're gonna have some very sweaty fourth quarters, Mike.
Yeah, I do have to shout out Isaac Guerrero, who, with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, slid on the 2 instead of going into the end zone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you, Isaac Guerrero, for
Wow.
not going into
Wow.
the end zone there.
Dude, that's
That one
your
would have hurt. I mean,
that's
then
your
that's like
shout
a
out of the week.
casual, I mean, a casual Tuesday morning half marathon. Like, that's not in the cards for me.
Oh,
So
is that when you're running tomorrow morning?
that's the plan.
You can listen to the podcast while you do it. You can listen to your sad depression voice.
It's the last thing I want to do.
Can I just play a quick game with you? I'm gonna ask you quarterbacks in the league right now. You're not okay. Like I know you have to stick with Dak, Mike. I have to stick with Jalen Hurts. We gave him a lot of money, and I've shown times this year where I'm upset with Jalen Hurts, and I'm proud of myself for openly admitting that, and then also telling you when I'm in love again. It just happens to be before his best month of football. We'll get to it, but my question to you is, which of these quarterbacks would you rather have over Dak Prescott just right now on your team?
Okay.
And I'm gonna name some. Let's start with an obvious one, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay, sorry.
Let's skip
Those
the
two
obvious ones.
All right, Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert.
Like, no.
I think you just say yes. Dude.
I mean,
like,
I guess, like, I need some kind of switch up, but, like, is he, like, the answer?
Right, exactly.
No?
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
Like, we've seen he can be pretty fucking awesome.
All right, I'd rather have Justin Herbert.
I think it's pretty easy to say that his peak is better than Dak Prescott's peak.
Yeah, he's not, like, the savior, but okay.
Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Bo Nix.
Like, yeah, why not?
Really?
Like, I mean, he's the same fucking guy. I mean, I was going to praise Bo Nix in a little bit, but I mean, he threw for almost 300 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. Didn't turn the ball over. Like, I know he played the Panthers, but the guy's like being an awesome game manager.
Okay. I guess maybe Sam Darnold as well. You'd take over him?
Sure.
Okay. Daniel Jones.
No.
Okay. Let me give you another no. Ooh, this one's actually a tough one. Geno Smith. That one's tough.
Yeah, give me Geno Smith. Sure.
Russell Wilson?
Oof,
no.
That one's tough. I can't take Russell Wilson.
He has been playing good.
He's had 2 good weeks, and so did Derek Carr. I
think we should also see his bad plays because they're still there. His bad plays are absolutely still there.
Yeah, and he's played 2 bad teams. No.
So no to Russell Wilson. Okay.
I mean, I'm just looking. I'm looking at the NFL. Like
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Dude, wow. Trevor Lawrence. That says a lot about you. Anthony Richardson.
That
was tough because AR, you've been bad. You've been very, very bad. I think I'd
say no. No.
I would say no. I don't see it with AR. I love him. Gator fans all knew how great Anthony Richardson was, how special he was. We didn't say he was going to be a good quarterback because he wasn't at UF.
No, this is exactly what we saw there.
Yep.
We saw
Exact
flashes
same
of
thing.
greatness and
Exact
the
same thing.
clear athletic ability, but he's pretty fucking stupid too.
It's kind of a modern day version of Jamarcus Russell in a lot of ways. That might be a little dramatic,
No,
but
his talent is much more than Jamarcus Russell.
yeah, but at the time it was like, oh my God. All right. Yeah. All right. I got a couple more for you. Tua.
Yeah,
Last but not least, Jalen Hurts.
I knew you were gonna finish with him.
Come on.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yeah,
That's actually all I wanted to hear. We're done with your misery.
You just spent 23 minutes getting me to admit.
Well, the month of October, Dak has 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and Jalen has 9 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Jalen Hurts has been really good. He had his I think his best game in almost a year since the Buffalo game last year. I think that was my favorite win since 2022. The Buffalo game last year was pretty incredible, but like that, we haven't been blowing teams out. We're back to blowout football. It's awesome. So listen, I'm sorry. People are gonna get mad at me. I feel sorry sometimes to be, Eagles fan Michael, but like the offense was great, like really, really good, elite, what you would expect, and finally did it. The defense continues to be awesome, right? I think it's 12 points per game the past 4 weeks or something like that. I've talked about the cornerbacks. The pass rush is back. Nolan Smith is great again. Nakobe Dean's playing great. Vic Fangio's scheme looks awesome. Kellen Moore's scheme looks awesome. And Nick Sirianni's doesn't look dumb. I haven't heard his name a lot, which means he's doing a good job. It's not like people are ever going to give Nick Sirianni credit. So if he's not getting bashed, it means he's on the good side of what he can do, right? And my most important thing, and my biggest takeaway from this game, and I was getting mad at my dad because first game we watched together this year, so that was good vibes. But like, we had the weird 10-minute drive where they trotted down the field, and then we put up 3 points to the touchdown. Didn't score in the first quarter, right? But he kept, carrying on this bad energy towards the game. And even 20 minutes after, I'm like, dude, can we talk about Jalen Hurts? Like, because he's been like out on Jalen Hurts. But he's also like very easy to be out on things. I don't know if Bob's the same way. Like I hang on, right? I hang on by a thread to the fucking Markelle Fultzes of the world, right? And he's off the train immediately, good or bad. But Jalen, he held on, and then at the end he was like, all right, Jalen Hurts had a great football game today. And I was like, when was the last time we were able to like really say that? 4 touchdowns, 132 passer rating, fed his guys, ran the ball really well, and didn't turn the ball over, which will always, always, always be the most important thing. And yeah, the Bengals defense sucks, but that was one of the hotter offenses in the NFL, and they came out with their best stuff to start the game, but we just blitzed them. We just bulldozed them because we're the better football team.
Yeah, I mean, if the Eagles do that every single week, then it's a recipe for success. I'm giving you credit. Can I just give you credit? Is that
no,
cool?
you are.
I'm giving you credit. I didn't say anything bad yet. Because truly, I can't give a fair take. I had to work on Sunday, so I didn't watch as much football as I wanted, of course, till the Sunday night game when I was really able to lock in, and that was a lot of fun.
You caught the end of your lock of the week too, but not your Sunday.
No, just not my Sunday all around. I need to go back and watch the whole game because it does seem like, I feel like in the beginning, the Bengals offense was rolling. I mean, they had a 17-17 with 4 minutes left in the third, and then suddenly it was 37-17. So yeah.
So it really was like
the Eagles
back and forth in the first half, and the Bengals should have been up like 2 touchdowns just with the way the vibe felt. Because they had a 17-play, 10-minute drive to start the game. Like, couldn't miss on third down, it seemed like, for the whole first half. And then, the Eagles had a penalty that sent them back, so they settled for 3. And then the Bengals trotted down the field, had a missed field goal, and all of a sudden the Eagles just took like a 6-minute drive to end the half. They did the tush push like 4 times on the goal line. It would have pissed you off so bad. They
I
got the
saw
ball
all
to
of
start the
those.
half, trotted down the field again, and then the Bengals answered. And like you said, it was 17-17. But then, and this is the thing that like really, really makes the Eagles elite and could potentially help them win a Super Bowl this year. It's the one big play. And now it's not just A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith. It's also Saquon breaking off a 65-yard run, which I think he's good for every 2 or 3 weeks. Like you're just going to see one of them. This game, it was Devontae. And Jalen Hurts threw the ball like 60 yards in the air down the field. It was a great throw. He had another great throw to AJ last week. It was good to see him throw the ball that far. Like that's one of the things. I haven't seen him throw it. It was his longest completion ever.
Was that the duck? Because I did see the duck.
Yeah, it wasn't a duck. It was perfectly in his hands in the back of the end zone in stride. I don't know what else you want out of a ball.
I don't remember, but I saw a duck and I texted you about it.
I don't know what duck he could have thrown because he was 16 for 20. Sorry, not sorry for going on. That was a great Eagles win. They got the Jags, and then they got. Thanks, Mike. Thanks.
I'm trying to give you credit here. This is like you as a salesman. Like I can imagine you're the type of salesman to like, hey, would you like to buy this thing? And then the person says yes, and you're like, well, let me tell you about it first. And then you just like keep going. And it's like, dude, I already said I would buy it. Stop selling it to me before I fucking change my mind.
Well, maybe you should check out your options first. Like, don't you want to see the competitors? Yeah, no.
Well, let me tell you about the high-speed internet. Sir, I'd like to buy it. Yeah, but let me tell you about all the different colors it comes
but I'm
in.
not done yet.
I'd like to buy it yet. But I'm still telling you about it. I'm giving you props. You had a good win. If you want to gloat in it anymore, you can. If not, we can move on to the rest of the NFL.
I'm done because
we don't need the weekly prediction of why the Eagles can win the Super Bowl and the Cowboys can't. Moving on to the rest of football. I will say
one last thing. This was a lot because of my relationship. Me and Jaylen repaired it, and he hasn't turned the ball over since. What happens when you fall back in love, people? Love can do crazy things.
I ran 10 miles for the Cowboys, and then they lost.
So bad.
Love works in weird ways, I guess. Love works in weird ways.
Dude, you don't need a New Year's resolution, dude. You don't need to do like 75 hard or anything. This is cool. Like I'm kind of not jealous, but it's a story.
I'm gonna keep track of the miles because I'm gonna put in a lot of miles.
Other story before we get to the rest of the games. Okay, I want to ask you this question now because I'm coming after you out of nowhere, and then I want you to think about it. Did you see the Dwayne Wade statue?
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so bad. I feel like this happens every year. Who are these statue makers? It's crazy. It's unbelievable. I don't think it's that hard. Well, obviously it's hard, but I mean,
also they didn't like look at it and were like, "All right, we got to like push back the ceremony and like make a new one."
What was like the really, really bad one like 10 years ago?
What player? It was one of the Hall of Fame ones, I think, in the NFL, and it just looked nothing like it.
It wasn't Peyton Manning. Someone tell it to us. We'll think of it. But my question is, and you don't have to answer now, but like, what player would take the D Wade statue the worst? Like, would just freak out, be like, "What the?" Like, you're at the ceremony, you just throw like, "What the fuck?" You know? Think about it.
All right.
Well, we got to talk about this game. So first of all, thank you, Sean Andrews, for coming on the podcast last week. It was a great podcast, he did great. I thought Sean put on a good performance.
He killed it.
His mic sounded crispy. He put in some good takes. His timing was great. I think it's safe to say he's the best podcast guest we've had so far.
I have to agree. I mean, he had a head start when his video worked. So
that was important. You can't blame Matt for the Philadelphia Wi-Fi. Anyways,
no, not his fault.
Well, I even put it in the title when I uploaded the episode. I felt lost making picks the whole time. Sometimes lost is how you win, especially in a week that Vegas, it seemed like they were bound to win, giving the public 2 big weeks in a row. You clearly wrote out the strategy you had been writing out, which you kind of have to. It would have been extremely sharp to switch. But my strategy, which is fading the public and just betting because of the lines instead of the actual games, worked because there were a lot of like backdoor covers. I went 9-5 and I hit my lock of the week, which was the Eagles. Felt very comfortable lock of the week. That was good. And you went 6-9. Not a great week.
No.
Sean, very mediocre at 8-7. He also missed his lock of the week, which was the Packers, who I told you guys, like, that line was the weirdest of the week. It was 3.5. And sure enough, Vegas had it. So right.
Yeah, I should have seen that. I think I was so overly confident that I just didn't lock in enough. Maybe I was just being humbled by the gambling gods.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you had work on Sunday. What made you do it again? Was it like, why couldn't you watch the early games?
Yeah, I had work, so I missed most of football. I was sort of keeping track on my phone, but there was also a concert that I had to work, so wasn't able to fully lock in.
Well, you did for the end of the Bears game, which we have to talk about.
That one put me
wasn't
on
a
the
great
verge.
game. I was still entertained by the game. It was, lower scoring than people expected. Caleb Williams was bad for 3 quarters. Matt Eberflus seems like has a similar sentiment to Mike McCarthy right now. And the Commanders do have a weird trend of not being able to score. They kick a lot of field goals in a lot of games, and sometimes it works out, like the Giants game. But it came down to the end where the Bears had a first and goal from like the 1 yard line, and then they had the fumble because they handed it off to the fullback, who was like their defensive tackle. They tried doing the refrigerator. Don't do that. It's a low scoring football game. Never good, especially in a 12-7 game, dude. Like, it's never that simple. Like, you gotta just, every yard counts, right? Don't get cute. Anyways, this was me and Mike's text exchange on Sunday. I bet the Commanders in my picks, but then I ended up live betting the Bears because I saw like I did see it pretty well. I saw a team that, probably is better on paper and kept it close enough, and Caleb Williams was starting to throw the ball better, so it looks like they were going to put it together, and they pretty much did. You guys probably all know how the game went. They scored with like 23 seconds left, and you texted me, "Come on now, Bears." I said, "Wow." And then you go, "It was always the Bears." Holy shit. Difference between down, I won't say the dollar amounts, decent amount of money versus up a lot of money. And I said, got him at 3-1. Bang. And you're like, big swing. It was the dollar amount. I live bet them 3 times. Let's fucking go. Was that your lock of the week? Come on now. 7-1. That's insane. Every time I think I have you, 6-2 and 7-1 is still nuts. Yeah, because my locks are literally locks. Yours are 75%ers. That's what you can call yours, the 75 chance of hitting bet of the week. So now you're getting cocky. You're getting overly confident. You're not winning.
The game was over.
The game was over. I also crushed you this week. I started bandering, but then I was driving back from the mountains, so I was going back to Denver. And I went into the gas station. I turned off my red zone on my phone. And then I walk out and I just see I'm going to KMS. And I was like, no way. There's no way. And sure enough, it was awesome. Crazy Hail Mary. Maybe obviously the best moment in Commanders history. I think I know they made the playoffs. Like, that's your best moment ever.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, Jayden Daniels is not far off from being the greatest quarterback in that team's history.
No.
Already.
For just the Commanders is what you're saying?
No, Redskins too.
You're saying both?
He's not that far off.
I mean, there's like Theismann, there's they had Sonny Jurgensen, like they had some really good old guys.
I mean, this team hasn't had hope like this. The city of DC that I live in, that it pains me to live in because of this. They've never felt like this before.
That was I texted you, that was the loudest crowd I had ever heard DC. I think my life. I can't remember it being that loud. It was, and that's why the game was entertaining too. Like, there was a certain energy, almost like a playoff atmosphere. Just, I know it wasn't like, it's week 8, but not to mention two good teams, but the quarterbacks and the storyline of just 1 and 2 going into it. And like the rivalry between Commanders and Bears fans, like, dude, those fan bases hate each other right now. They are both convinced that their quarterback's the better one. Do
Yeah.
you have a say on who would you rather have right now? Mine's still Jayden Daniels.
I think it's hard not to say Jayden Daniels.
Caleb, there's some things with Caleb that you're like, ooh.
I mean, you can see that. I think they're both going to be great quarterbacks in the league, but Jayden Daniels is there now. Caleb Williams is still getting.
I know it's a weird comparison, but I'm just going to make one. Like, it doesn't make sense to as far as like physical attributes, but I just want you to think of it from like a football and like running an offense perspective. I think Caleb Williams is Aaron Rodgers, and I think Jayden Daniels is Tom Brady. I know it's weird, but just hear me out. Aaron Rodgers, Caleb Williams, beats around the bush, creative, like always like last second play out of nowhere, keeps the drive alive, but never really looks like that easy. Tom Brady, Jayden Daniels, it always looks straightforward. It always looks downhill. It always is quick decisions. It's never too much per se, right? It's very straightforward, to the point, good decision making. Do you like that? Because that's kind of what I see as far as differences. You can choose which one you like more. In this case, I like Jayden Daniels more.
Yeah, it's an interesting comparison. I don't know if I like it, but I understand where you're trying to get here. No, okay. I understand where you're trying to get at.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think the difference for me is Caleb Williams is the youngest quarterback to still be playing the old school style of football, which is sit in the pocket and just be an accurate quarterback that makes the right decisions and is a great thrower of the football. Yep. The difference is that Jayden Daniels is the closest thing we have to Patrick Mahomes, and I don't think it's too outstretched to say that. Whereas
Josh Allen
is okay, fine. I think he's even closer to Josh Allen than he is Patrick Mahomes because he can run the ball and throw the ball. Lamar Jackson can run the ball and is not an elite thrower. He's an elite runner, but not an elite thrower. Josh Allen, elite thrower. I wouldn't call him an elite runner, but he can run and he runs well. Jayden Daniels is elite at throwing the ball. He has a fucking gun and he's quick as shit. Like, potential-wise, his ceiling's higher. Caleb Williams seems like he should be the more consistent guy, but then again, he's not. And that's where you get the Tom Brady thing that you're going for, is the consistency. He makes it look easy even when he is running. I mean, he's there now. He's a top 10, coming up on maybe top 5 already quarterback in the NFL, and Caleb Williams is still learning how to play in this league.
Yeah, and that's the big thing with it, right? Is like he's, and to your Lamar point, I think Lamar still has like a obvious edge as a player, just from a playmaking standpoint. He might not be able to put it in the same windows as Jayden Daniels. I think that's fair to say what you said, but there is like an extending of the playability with Lamar Jackson that nobody else has. But it's also gotten better as he's gone throughout the league. Jayden Daniels has the same attributes to be able to gain something like that. And I think, like you said, he came into this league as a better thrower than Lamar.
Yeah.
Great game.
I don't think it's, great game. Both
Commanders,
teams are legit.
6-2. Eagles almost had the NFC East lead for a sec. They're going to have to wait another week. I don't really know who they have next week. I'll check in a sec. There were some other good games, though. I mean, we hit the Cowboys. That was the big afternoon one. Eagles.
Jets.
We could talk about the
Jets. I mean, everyone's talking about the Jets, so I don't think we need to harp on the Jets, but we have to talk about it.
I don't know if we do. Do they deserve it?
No. I think they're the greatest disappointment possibly in all of sports.
I mean,
handing the reins over to Aaron Rodgers, it could go down as the biggest mistake in the history of a sports franchise.
They're 2-6. You can't expect a 2-6 team to make the playoffs.
And they've gotten rid of their whole future. They've gotten rid of their coach. They're going to get rid of their GM after the season. At least that's what everyone assumes. And they've gotten rid of their future draft pick wise. They are young players that were elite, like the Sauce Gardners aren't that elite. The defense is beatable. The offense isn't great. They've gone out and gotten Devontae Adams. They still have to sign Garrett Wilson in a year. Like, they're in trouble because Aaron Rodgers is not good anymore. Is it fair to say that? Is it fair to say that?
I think you could call him good, but he's not great, and that's what you kind of need to be when your offense isn't creative at all and it's just regular routes and a mediocre offensive line. Like, you can't just be good. Not only that, like, even if you had the best roster ever, you can't in football expect to just paste together a roster and expect it to work. We've seen it time and time and time again. So the AFC East, it's the 6-2 Buffalo Bills. And then in second place is the 2-5 Miami Dolphins. It's then the 2-6 New England Patriots. And the Jets are in last. You just lost to the Patriots. The Patriots. And now I'm pretty sure they have a bye week. And like, that was the perfect win. Go in 3-5. You're 2 games from 500. Like, there's 2 spots up for grabs in the AFC. Just win. But now
they lost to a Jacoby Brissett Patriots team, which is like bad.
I'm pretty sure it was in New England, right? But still, I mean, it's the Patriots.
Especially the way they blew it. That like you can't close. Like, you got, if you're gonna be a good team, you have to be able to close out a game like that. Like,
especially against the Patriots,
right? I mean, I get it. Gritty, away from home, divisional game, fine. It might not be as sexy as you want it to be. These games happen to the best of the teams and the worst of the teams. But ultimately, it's a game that you have to win. It's a game you mark as a W on the schedule before the season starts. And especially at 2-5, it's a must win.
Well, they don't have a bye next week. It's worse. They play in 3 days. They play the Texans in 3 days.
Oh, they're done.
They're going to be 2-7.
Is Aaron Rodgers still the starting quarterback in Week 18 of the New York Jets?
That's a great question. Like, I don't even think it's like does he get benched? Like, Aaron Rodgers is the type of guy, if they're 2-8, like, is he going to want to play?
That's what I was going to say. Like, he's a loser. He might walk away.
It's really sad. He might retire. Aaron Rodgers.
He might pull one of those like halftime retirements,
and then
like that guy on the Colts.
The post game. Yeah. Oh fuck! What's his name? Dante, or I think his last name was Dante. Beast. Anyways.
Yeah.
Aaron, even after in the post game, he like got on the mic and he's like, "Yeah, we're in a dark place, but I've been in the darkness before and you learn to live with it." I'm like, yeah, dude, we get it. You do drugs. Okay. Can we talk about how you're a bad football team versus drugs for once?
They're like, what's the issue? Like, it seems like it's everything negative. And he's like, the issue is you guys asking us questions. Nah, that's my job, dude. I'm a media reporter.
In New York.
When you lose, I have to ask you about why you lost.
Dude. It's the tale as old time. I mean, you go to a sports athlete with a prominent career goes to New York and then is like, why is it like this? It's like, dude, what? It's fucking same thing with Philly. Same thing with Boston. Like, dude, that's just what you sign up for. Let's move on.
Vontae Davis. Vontae Davis.
There it is.
Retired at halftime.
Yeah. What a
You were close.
Man. Another upset in the early window was Browns. Ravens. Just Jameis, man. So the most Jameis Winston is the most Jameis Winston sequence of all time. It's great with Jameis because he comes in and is immediately Jameis. There's no warm up. He's just picks off right where he left off. Not to mention it's always a crazy game. It's never close, or it's never a blowout on either side. It's always just a good game. And to end the game, so they're down a point. They're on, it's like 1st and 10 from the 50-yard line. And I kid you not, Jameis Winston throws it right to Kyle Hamilton like he's the one running the route. It's like the receiver has inside leverage and Kyle Hamilton's behind him, and he still throws it over his receiver to Kyle Hamilton, and he just drops it. Like, he bobbles it like 6 times. It's the easiest catch I've ever seen. And then the next play, 2nd and 10, they might have ran the same exact play. It was a play action, and he just throws a perfect bomb dart into the end zone to give the Browns the lead. And Lamar tried putting on some theatrics to save it at the end. He could have. He was pretty close. But the Browns won. They had a huge upset. And Jameis Winston is the story of this game, as he should be. His post-game interview was incredible, as always. And I'm smiling. I know he's a Florida State guy and all, but the NFL is a better league when Jameis Winston is in it.
And it's crazy, like, who he is now versus like when he came into the league. Like,
yeah,
he had a scandal in college that didn't deserve to have, because that was completely gotten rid of and completely false. So he got a bad rep, number 1 overall pick, and then like everything he said since then has just been funny. Like, he's just a funny guy. Like, he gets did you see when he got the team hyped and he was like, we play for the logo on our helmet, even though there's no logo on our helmet, so we play for the Browns.
It's so, and he has no idea he's doing it too. He's just dead serious. He did.
They said he's like the Jameis Winston Church is what they're calling his fans. You know?
It's so great. He did like a Sunday conversation with Caleb Presley. Those videos are great, and his was one of the best I've seen.
He's just so funny.
He was great on Part of My Take. He, in his post-game interview, cited Eminem word for word. His like it wasn't even like a song nobody had heard of. It was "Lose Yourself." He just quoted.
He said it beforehand. He's like, I got a white friend up in Detroit. His name is Eminem, and he once said, like, come on, man.
So great.
He's so corny. Great. It's awesome.
And he's the perfect quarterback for the Browns too, because they're maybe more depressed than any fan base. Like, even if you're not going to win, just like have Jameis be in there to give you a little smile, because he will make you smile. He's going to make you very upset. He's going to throw some extremely questionable footballs. And you're like, dude, how do you even think about that? But that's part of the package.
It's the LASIK. It's the LASIK. It glitches out every now and then.
What a career, man. Unreal. The LASIK thing, the eating the W thing, his Florida State career, he is something else. And you got to give respect to him, because he's just hung out in the league as a backup, and I think teammates like him, like, everywhere he goes.
How could you not?
He's the personality hire. He absolutely is. He's very valuable to a team. And I one of the first things we talked about when we got on the podcast was, like, in the preseason, he was the one like leading the huddles for the team versus Deshaun Watson. Like, he stepped in like to do that role as a quarterback. Like, that probably says a lot about Deshaun Watson, but also says a lot about Jameis. So props to Jameis, man.
Good for Jameis Winston. Big win. Ravens question marks.
Yeah, and I don't have much else from the early games, right? I'm just looking over.
Lions rolled.
The Packers and Jaguars game was good. Packers probably deserve that win the game, and Jordan Love might be pretty hurt.
Yeah, but good thing they have Malik Willis, who's somehow fucking ridiculous.
Has a better record than Jordan Love this year. That's just a fact. So
that's a crazy fact.
I think we were also spot on last week, by the way, when we said like top 4 teams in the NFC: Eagles, Lions, Vikings, and we said Packers too. It could change now, and it could really be those 3 teams. And I think we're probably allowed to count the Niners once they get healthier. Because if they get McCaffrey back, they're just going to be good again, right?
Yeah.
I figured.
Apparently, he's only 2 weeks away, they said.
Didn't they say that week? The funny thing is about this McCaffrey thing is, like, week 1, he was, like, going to play that game.
Yeah.
This was not an injury they talked about at all the whole season prior. Like, the whole offseason leading up. It was literally
like, no problem. He'll
when
be
the
ready
game
for
started.
week 1.
Yep. And now it's like,
but they
9.
knew. They just didn't want to tell anybody.
Yeah, but that's weird. Especially given like he's the consensus number 1 fantasy pick. I know like you don't make your franchise decisions because of fantasy football, but like that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, it's
That's a
pretty
pretty
fucked
big
up.
market. Yeah, that is fucked up. Like that's if you're in a 14-man league and you pick number 1 overall, I'm in those leagues and those guys didn't get to pick again until 30, and they
I'd
take
like to see where he got picked in the San Francisco 49ers players fantasy
That's a
football draft.
great point. That is an incredible, or just like family friend league.
Yeah.
Was
did he get picked? Did they know?
Because he is a big family. They definitely have like a fantasy football league. Like, did he go first overall? His mom probably took him still, but like still. Lions dominated the Titans. Nothing to touch on there. We said on the podcast too, like if that line was, I think it was 13. If it was 21, you're having the same debate, right?
Yeah, we were not. We nailed that.
Falcons Bucks was close, which everyone expected ever.
Good game. Baker's starting to be Baker again, which is throw interceptions at the wrong time, and that's why he is an elite, and that's why the Bucks are mediocre.
I think Baker's very similar to what we've been saying about Dak and Brock Purdy. It's like it's got to be pretty good around him. He doesn't have his guys right now. He still has some great moments, but yeah, he can become very vulnerable when he's in obvious passing situations in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah.
Cardinals Dolphins was a good game. I just didn't watch any of it at all.
It was actually a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill coming sort of back to normal. Dolphins showing that their backup quarterbacks were just really bad. Still lost though.
It was a pretty drunk witching hour. It was a lot of chaos.
Absurd.
Yeah. Colts Texans was also a very close game. There was a fumble pickup for a touchdown that got like reversed. Josh Downs had this huge gain. Anthony Richardson made some really dumb decisions.
And some incredible plays.
And
that stat line, I know everyone's been seeing the meme of the stat line, but he was 2 for 15 at half with 87 yards and a touchdown.
Incredible.
Stupid.
Incredible. He had a 30 QBR. Unreal.
Oof.
Not great, Anthony Richardson.
No.
And then the
Texans
late window.
Are weird. Texans are weird. I don't know why they're not blowing people
Texans are weird. CJ Stroud's weird. He's not as efficient.
They're good. Yeah, they're good, and he's good, and I'm not worried about either one of them, but, I don't know.
Maybe similar Eagles vibes to last year. Like, you're squeezing out weird wins, but there's clearly something wrong. Like, do we see them really, lose games that they're supposed to soon? Or lose games they're supposed to win?
Closer to, how the Ravens are playing this year, where they're clearly fucking awesome, but just, let teams hang around, and then the difference is the Texans are winning most of those games.
Are they clearly awesome,
Ravens,
though?
I think they're clearly awesome. I think they're down their 2 best receivers now.
I think
which is
offensive line is a big deal about this, too. They don't have a good O-line.
No, and you see that they're very top-heavy. They went out and got all these stars and studs, and now that you have Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs out, can Tank Dell carry the weight? John Mechie actually got some playing time. Shout out him from his Alabama days. I think it's the same that you saw when they weren't the same without Joe Mixon. Their backup running backs are dog shit. Are their backup wide receivers going to be decent, or are they going to be dog shit too?
Late window slowed down a bit.
It did a lot.
Oh, wow. Not one good game, actually. Chiefs Raiders sucked. Broncos Panthers sucked. I mean, Commanders Bears, I just tried to keep that on the TV most of the time just because I liked hearing the crowd. I liked hearing the Nance Romo call. Bills Seahawks was never close. Gino did not have a good game. The Seahawks are so weird. That whole division is just so weird. The Cardinals are leading the division right now. I'm pretty sure they are.
Yeah, either them or the four. Yeah, because they beat the 49ers.
Yeah. Wow. That is just so weird. I'd like to see the Rams value. Because the Rams looked good.
Don't waste your time with that.
Are you sure?
They're not a good team.
Yeah, but it's not about the teams. It's about that division.
I said Cardinals way back, and you looked funny at me when we made our predictions after week 4. Shout out my Cardinals prediction that I didn't bet on.
Did not bet on that.
No, we can continue.
And the game tonight wasn't that great either.
No, you took the Giants though.
I did take the Giants. I mean, they were tied at halftime and they got the ball. I I don't even think this was. I mean, Daniel Jones is an awesome. We know that, but Brian Dable, like, I don't think he's a good coach. I think he kind of
No.
sucks.
Yeah. He had a great like first year where like the defense turned it up in the second half and they somehow made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he's been bad since then.
Well, he's an offensive guy, but people forget like Josh Allen was his quarterback. You're probably going to have a good offense if Josh Allen's your quarterback.
Right. Much easier to develop a scheme for Josh Allen than for Daniel Jones. So maybe not completely his fault, but there haven't been many adjustments.
I think he's gone next year.
100%.
What coaches are gone next year? I think you could probably name a good 4 or 5 right now, maybe.
Seems like a lot. This seems like a make or break year for a lot of people.
Brian Dable, Doug Peterson. I think, God, what's the Raiders coach even name? Rich DiMaggio?
Antonio Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. Rich DiMaggio was like their other interim head coach.
Yeah.
So he's definitely gone.
Mike McDaniel on the hot seat.
Is Dave Canales safe with the Panthers? Like, I don't think you can fire anyone that coaches the Panthers. So we'll say he's safe. Mike McDaniel is definitely on the hot seat. I don't think
Mike
it happens.
McCarthy.
Mike McCarthy is also questionable. I think the 3 we just mentioned are like maybes. Dennis Allen, like, they're 2-6 now. They've lost 6 in a row. I know Derek Carr's been out, but that's not great. And 26-8. Oof. So I think you could probably say he's gone. I think that's probably it. Titans. Who even is their coach? I don't know his name.
I don't know, but it's his second year, so.
And I guess the Jets already had one. So I mean, there's usually like 6 or 7 every year, and I think you could already think of a good 4 or 5 that you're comfortable saying won't have a job next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I meant to bring this up earlier, but Joe Burrow said in the press conference, 10 wins usually gets you into the playoffs as a wild card.
I like
you
that
feel good with 10 wins.
Yeah, I like that
he framed it that way. So he said we need to win 7 out of the next 9.
Yep.
That's not crazy.
That's not crazy.
Also looking at their schedule, it's not crazy. They can do it. The line isn't there on FanDuel right now, but I'm going to bet on them to win the playoffs because I think they can do it.
Yeah.
But if they don't and they finish like 6-11, like Zach Taylor might be.
That's what I was going to say for sure. I don't think fans are very happy with him.
No, and I think they'll figure it out, and I think they'll get to that 10-win mark. I think they'll get at least 9. They'll make it competitive and close.
Yeah, I know we said we were going to try and get Remy on since he's a big Bengals fan. I didn't even bother to ask. So I didn't want to just have him on to,
just to rip on him for the Bengals sucking ass.
It makes sense for a preview way more than a post game. Maybe Agreed. If they're ripping on me, like that's allowed. But if it's just, hi, welcome, by the way, your team sucks. And their team does kind of suck. Like if I'm a Bengals fan after that Eagles win, it's like, that's the type of loss where it's just like because you're not the better football team and it's so obvious. And like that's a pretty tough loss to endure, especially when you're the Bengals and you expect a lot.
Agreed.
That's what I got on NFL. I like a Ravens Eagles Super Bowl still, which was my preseason prediction.
Yeah, I wanted to bring up, that how we threw those fun bets where we pick the next 4 world champions in all 4 sports. You always see everyone do that, and you were like, dude, I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna do it. And I did it right after we filmed.
I did it as well. I'm gonna have to do a new one because I put the Yankees in mind.
You did do the Yankees.
I wasted $10.
The first one. Who were your other teams?
Yeah,
though?
So I'm gonna redo it with the exact same teams because I would hate to hit everything else and switch it up. Anyways, college football, I took Texas. I believe you did as well.
I did. I took Texas to win the national championship. Yes.
NFL, I took the Detroit Lions.
I took the Ravens.
Okay, I think those are probably the 2 best threats to the Chiefs right now. So
I would agree with that statement. Yeah,
it'll probably be the Chiefs though.
I think you could say the Eagles are frisky, and that's about as close as you can get.
Yeah, I mean it shows by the fact that you put them in your parlay.
I'd say, Well, you got to pick one team. I think the Ravens. It makes. I actually can envision a Ravens-Eagles Super Bowl where the Eagles win it, but I think it's like Ravens, Lions, and then frisky teams in the second tier Ravens, Lions, Chiefs. And there's still plenty of question marks about the Chiefs. We can say it every week. And then like your second tier is Vikings, Eagles, and Bills.
Yeah.
Fair?
I think the Texans, I guess the next tier is like
too.
Texans, Packers, 49ers.
Maybe 49ers. I'd say so. Like that's 9 teams right there that I think you're comfortable saying are the best 9 teams in the NFL. And then you could talk about Steelers. Who have looked good. We'll give the Steelers, Commanders, Bears, they're flowers, but I think we're pretty confident with those 9 teams.
Yeah. So you've got Dodgers. Going. You've got Dodgers for MLB. Mine is dead because of Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
We both picked Texas. You've got the Ravens. I've got the Lions. NBA. I went with the Mavs.
I just put Celtics. They're pretty heavy favorites too. And one thing we need to remember about the NBA is like the good teams are usually there in the finals at the end. It's not a very toss-up league, unlike the NHL where it's like all of them are 10-1 odds plus, right? So I took the Rangers, your team, because I did too. I just chose. Okay, that's good. I just chose a team. If the Yankees lose, looks like they are, you could really be relying on the Rangers for a lot of happiness this year, especially if the Knicks. We talked about the Knicks last pod.
The Knicks are figuring it out.
So yeah, I got Dodgers, which looks pretty good, and then Texas would be the next one I rely on, followed by the Ravens, and then NBA, Celtics. You have the Mavs, and then we both have the Rangers. $10 to win $40,000. For some reason, even with the Dodgers clearly about to win the World Series, my cash out is less. Gambling just makes sense.
They're not giving you the full $40,000 option? No. They don't just think you're going to win. They're not just going to give it to you?
Even though it's a lock.
Yeah, they're not offering me a cash out either. Not sure if you're surprised. My cash out is unavailable.
3 cents. I don't have much for like the actual games that happen in college. The A&M LSU game was interesting. It was a cool football game to watch. And A&M's backup quarterback is electric. Like that guy needs to start. Yeah. Dude, Bregman or Weigman or whatever his name is, he's bad. And
he's also their second string now.
Is he?
Yeah.
No,
the first guy got injured.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. And he came back like either the game before or this game. He played the Notre Dame game. He wasn't good in that game. And then this backup guy, what's his name? I have it. It's Marcel Reed. So he's like a runner first, but he's electric on the ground. Like he's a playmaker. He had 3 touchdowns on the ground. And he carried them when their main guy, Connor Weigman, was hurt. And then he came in and he just completely flipped that football game. Because LSU, too, they're very pass-heavy. They like to get, like, easy completions, right, which can be spotchy. Like, you're set up for, relying on third downs. And this guy brought the opposite. He was like, I'm just going to gash you on the ground and, like, make it hard on you. And their defense is really good. That crowd obviously has a big influence. And Texas A&M is leading the SEC right now.
Still, yeah. I don't know. Like, maybe they're good. I don't know. I
think they're pretty good. I think, and honestly, the Gator game when they walked into that, like the Swamp, I didn't expect them to do that game.
Steamrolled.
The other team I want to talk about is Frisky's Penn State, because they had a weird first half against Wisconsin with Drew Aller in, but then their backup came in and they rolled ahead. And the reason I bring up Penn State is because now their season starts. Now they play Ohio State next week.
Yep.
I hate that it's a noon kickoff game. It should be a whiteout at 7 p.m. I will always hate that. That's so unfair. Stupid TV and Fox. Like, God, that sucks, man. That's terrible. It'll be cool Saturday to wake up hungover and have that game on, though. I'll take that,
Yeah, I'm just going to let you rant about the TV times a little bit more.
I mean,
You're right though. It deserves to be a night game.
I mean, God, that would be the perfect. Penn State's obviously frisky.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, Penn State doesn't win these games, so as a betting man, I will not be taking Penn State. I really liked Ohio State all season, and then they lost that Oregon game where I hammered them. So I don't really love them. They are favored, which makes me feel like everyone knows Ohio State is just going to win this game because that's what they do.
I like the vibes coming out of State College this year. I will bet on this game, and I'll bet on Penn State. Just me betting on that it's different this year, which is probably not. But if it is, that's pretty cool, and they deserve that. My dad deserves that.
I feel like it feels a little different. Like, I feel like they're usually not like number 3 in the nation. Usually they're like looming around that 8 to 12 kind of range.
Well, and like I feel like the only real question mark about that team is the quarterback and Drew Aller, the backup, right? But like the team is great. The defense is electric. They have weapons on offense. They have sturdy lines.
They're going to be at home.
Going to be at home. I know it's the noon kickoff. I mean, Ohio State almost lost to Nebraska. So
I don't know. I mean, they should have lost.
They should have lost. Like, that wasn't just like a close game.
Patrick Mahomes is the worst.
Dude,
I'm out on Dylan Raiola.
You can't not get a touchdown from your 1-yard line and expect them to win the game against Ohio State. You just got to.
He also threw his best pass of the game to the other team's linebacker because it was right to him. And if he didn't catch it, there was another defender right behind him.
Dude, if your defense is going to hold Ohio State to like 14 points because they had a touchdown at the end because of a turnover, like, make sure they get it. Make sure you win that game. God. So, but, you know, it juices up the game against Penn State a lot. So, and then Florida, Georgia next week. Just watch out for the Gators. Just going to put it out there. Just watch out for the Gators this week.
I will be rooting hard and believing, but I will not be betting because it's just not worth it. There were 2 teams that I liked this week. Shout out to Indiana. They got College Game Day. They steamrolled. Their coach is my favorite head coach in the country. I mean, he started off his first press conference as the head coach, and they said since 1995, Indiana's had 3 winning football seasons with a winning record, which is just absurd.
Insane.
Almost 30 years. And the guy said, "What are you going to do to change it?" And he said, "I'm a winner. Look me up."
That's awesome. He's like an older guy too. He's not like young.
No, he was an assistant sort of role player kind of position specific coach, bounced around a little bit, and then always wanted to be a head coach. So he took a Division II job. I did a lot of research on this guy. He's cool.
Yeah, you did.
Took a Division II job. I think 2 or 3 straight undefeated seasons with them. Then went to James Madison. Then went somewhere else. Then went to James Madison. Then went to Indiana. The Division II school was actually Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
Oh, there you go.
And now he's at the real Indiana.
Wow.
So,
and they got Ohio State coming up too.
Yeah. Which would be cool.
A cool game. Very cool.
Other cool team, Vanderbilt.
Dude.
They are cool.
Frisky.
And they probably should have beat Texas. That quarterback, whatever his name is, Pavia or whatever, on Vanderbilt is a dog. And, I mean, when you look back at, like, Florida's schedule going into this year, probably hardest college football schedule ever. And you would have said you were pissed that they didn't get to play Missouri and Vanderbilt, which are usually 2 automatic wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Florida would probably lose to both of them.
I don't know about that because I'm actually pretty high on the Gators right now. I know it's going to come back to bite me, but I think we're a good team.
Okay, well, compared to years of past, where Missouri and Vanderbilt are normally easy wins, now they're both ranked and the Gators are not. So just crazy.
I'm more scared of Vanderbilt than Missouri, as crazy that is.
Quinn Cooks, or whatever his name is injured, so give him a break.
It's just good for Vanderbilt because like this was the year that you were like really supposed to be left in the dust with them adding Texas and Oklahoma, and it was the opposite. Like you are in like you're a middle of the pack SEC team. It's pretty cool.
It won't last, but it is cool.
No, but like a middle of the pack SEC team is a massive win for Vanderbilt. You are always a bottom 2 team every single year in the SEC.
A middle of the pack team that is probably going to make a bowl game.
Yeah,
that beat Alabama at home. That's like a national championship for Vanderbilt. They
almost beat Texas. Like, yeah, good for them. Good. I wish we were playing them this year. This is the first time we haven't played Vanderbilt in years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on the Gators next week. Cowboys got the Falcons. We'll talk about it next pod. Eagles have the Jags. It got flexed from the Sunday night game to the 1 p.m. game. Thank God.
Yeah, nobody wants to watch the Jags on prime time.
I could see Doug Peterson just like weirdly winning this game though. Just no, but the vibes are too good right now. Like I don't have a lot of.
We'll talk about it in a few days.
All right,
let's not spoil it.
Sorry,
I'm gonna cry myself to sleep and then watch the Yankees tomorrow.
You did good. You got through this pod. It was one of your worst weekends in a while. You did good.
Yeah, the 10 miles did not translate to the Cowboys. It did not translate to the Yankees.
No.
And I don't think my 6 miles is going to save the Yankees either.
No,
I don't think it's going to save the Cowboys. But yeah, I mean, in a way, I'm forcing myself to get in shape.
You're forcing yourself to get wins outside of sports, which you deserve.
Am I a student athlete again now? Is that official?
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah. All right. I'm back.
All right. That's a pod. Glad I beat you in picks this week. We'll keep it rolling next week. I feel hot.
Good night.
Bye, Mike. See y'all.